Welcome everybody. احنا يعني on behalf of myself and Abuna Thanasius and all the congregation would like to welcome. طبعا Abuna doesn't need any introductions. Abuna James يعني أب اعترافي and he's my mentor and يعني بعد ربنا I owe everything that I am today to him for his guidance throughout the years. ياما طلعت عينه من ساعة ما جيت هنا هيوستن. يعني احنا النهارده بجد we're so blessed to have Abuna James and يعني may we all كده learn يعني something from him and from his يعني huge خبرة يعني that he offers us. Thank you Abuna for being here. Thank you.
In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. كلكم شكلكم بتكلموا انجليزي مش كده؟ ما فيش ولا واحد بيتكلم عربي. انتوا فاهمين اهو. فالظاهر انا I'm the one that's fooled ها؟ احنا بص ايه؟ نتكلم كده وكده. We'll do our best. طبعا the topic that I would like to speak to you today is about developing healthy relationships with your children and dealing with their problems. طبعا ده اجتماع بتاع أسرة فكل الكلام ده اللي أنا هقوله سمعناه قبل كده بس هنراجع مع بعض عشان نفكر يعني تكرار حلو بيخلي واحد يعني يفتكر ويحاسب نفسه في طريقته مع الأزواج أو العيال. What is the goal of childbearing? إيه الهدف from child rearing؟ يعني إحنا بنجيب ولاد ليه؟ هل عشان يخدموا in the farms؟ غاويين نكد؟ مظبوط. غاويين عرف لسه بنعملها. أيام الناس قالوا لنا إيه؟ ايه الهدف؟ يعني كلنا بنحب يعني يجيب اولاد يعني بس احنا ايه دورنا؟ what's our purpose يعني in child rearing؟ احنا عايزين يعني لما نقول كده when we step back and say what do I want to gain from having this child or what do I want this child يعني to learn when they grow up. هل كويس ابن ربنا وايه تاني؟ هل do we want في ناس يعني عايزين يخلوا الاولاد بتوعهم معاهم على طول يعني حتى ما يتجوز يقعد جنبنا يسكن جنبنا مش كده؟ هنا عايزين نمشينا طبعا الناس هنا بس احنا مصريين في الاخر فاحنا ايه الهدف؟ يعني so they can be spiritually mature. وإيه تاني؟ هي بالظبط كده يعني لو شفنا في التاريخ يعني ربنا مع البشر بعد ما يعني البشر كبر ربنا سابهم alright بعد ما يعني حتى قعد مع التلاميذ 3 سنين ونص عمل ايه؟ سابهم بس ايه كان معاهم بس سابهم جسديا فاحنا sometimes we feel like the kids we want them to be with us all the time يعني وانا عايز اكون يعني املك على حياتهم حتى لما أنا مش عايش معاهم. يعني I'm not living with them, but I still want to interfere in their life, in his or her life, and I want them to always come back to me. They want to have this unhealthy relationship. يعني يخلي الابن أو البنت تكون يعني ماسكة فيا قوي بحيث حتى their husband or wife they can go without بس ماما أو بابا لا. في آية in Proverbs it says train up a child in the way he should go and when he is old he will not depart from it. فالهدف for us as parents is to train our children. Sometimes we lose focus of the goal. The goal is to train them. How many of us كان عندنا شغل قبل كده we never knew how to do؟ يعني في دخلت شغل جديدة وانت مش فاهم أي حاجة في أي حاجة في الشغل ده. في حد؟ أنا وأبونا يعني دخلنا واحنا مش فاهمين أي حاجة. كتير مننا. بس إيه رأيكم لما الكومباني and I remember the first job that I got actually after college, they spent 3 months training me. It was great. I was very kind of calm. I didn't have any responsibilities. I'm there just to learn. And then before I got this job, كان عندي like a residency. And for the very first day, الراجل اللي أنا المفروض يعني أشتغل معاه قال لي أنا عندي ظروف في الكلية اشتغل أنت كلمني لو محتاج أي حاجة. فما كنتش فاهم أي حاجة في أي حاجة. فI think في اليوم ده كلمت حوالي 12 مرة. كل 15 minutes بكلمه. كل 15 minutes بكلمه. يعني it's much easier if there's a training period. So sometimes we forget the children when they're growing with us, it's training period. فده بقى الهدف. So what are the keys to a healthy relationship with our children? أول حاجة is respect. نحترم. نحن المفروض نحترم عيالنا. طبعا هم المفروض يعني يحترمونا بس احنا المفروض برضو نحترمهم هم. One of the Orthodox authors, he says, children learn most by how we respond when they misbehave. Yani, when they misbehave, do we still respect them or do we disrespect them? If we disrespect them when they misbehave, to them they feel like I'm not respectable. مش مفروض حد يبقى to respect me, right? So what you'll end up finding is they'll be mistreated at school and it wouldn't be a problem. So they'll think of themselves as unrespectable. فلو ما حد يعني يضايقهم في المدرسة they'll think يعني ده العادي. ماما وبابا بيعملوا كده معايا في البيت فالعيال بيعملوا ده عادي المفروض بقى just endure it. And العيال دول if we don't ask them specifically في عيال بقى you don't مش بيكلموا until you ask them. يرجعوا من البيت and if you don't ask how was your day they won't tell you. وهم يمكن في مصايب في المدرسة واحنا مش عارفين. Only when we ask بنقول. كم يعني مرة الأهالي come after I speak with them your son or daughter has this issue in school and said they never told me. فبسألهم did you ask them? I would expect them to come and tell me. No. Remember, they're still in training. They're still in training. They're still trying to develop مفروض ايه يعني what should I expect from my classmates at school and so on. طبعا respect is making eye contact. يعني sometimes يعني I know لما كده في ساعات لما تنرفز في عبارة كده بالعربي غور من ايه؟ غور من وشي. Alright? فالعبارة دي لما احنا بنتضايق غور من وشي. This is not making eye contact, right? This means like مش عايز اشوفك you're a failure يعني you're not worthy of me looking in your face. But this is disrespectful. فتلاقي يعني the children who don't have this kind of respect they won't be able to look somebody in the eye when they have a conversation because they don't feel like they're respectable, right? Because I was never taught how to be respected. Do not undermine their understanding, opinions, or feelings. يعني طبعا هم يعني احنا عيالنا طبعا they're still growing in their understanding, but we have to understand that. يعني we let them speak even if we know هم هيقولوا ايه وهم غلط ازاي, but we still let them hear. ربنا بيعمل كده معانا حقيقة. يعني لو بصينا في الخطية مع آدم ربنا سأل آدم انت فين مش كده؟ هو ربنا ما كانش عارف هو فين؟ لا عارف هو فين بس عايز ايه؟ عايز يتناقش. ربنا لما ابراهيم جه لربنا وقال له ايه طب ايه رايك في الناس في the good people in Sodom and Gomorrah اللي هم 50 هتهلك البلد. ربنا عارف في الاخر ما فيش حتى 10 بس فضل صابر معاه 50 40 30 وفي الاخر هو عارف في الاخر. بس he respected Abraham and allowed him to give and take with him. Do not interrupt them. هو برضه هنا في قصه مع ابراهيم. imagine كده لو ابراهيم قال اوكي ربنا قال لابراهيم ايه طلبك؟ طب اديها لك البلد لو في 50. ممكن ربنا يقول بص يا ابراهيم انا عارف بتقول ايه؟ انت بتقول 50 40 30 20 انا اقول لك من دلوقتي مفيش حتى 10. هي هات من الاخر، مش كده احنا ساعات بنقول كده، هات من الاخر خلصني ما عنديش وقت عشان افضل اناقش معاك. بس again this isn't respectful to them. Allow them to speak and to be heard and then we can يعني even if we know the outcome of what they're going to say. Number 2 is be a good role model. This is very يعني common sense. If you want them to admit their mistake, admit our mistakes. Sometimes احنا كمصريين بنفتكر لما نقول احنا غلطانين في حاجه دي نقطه ضعف. انا ضعيف، انا مش راجل لو انا قلت انا غلطان او عملت حاجه غلط. هي لا، because what this does is what بتعلم عيالنا دلوقتي عشان انت عيل بتعمل اخطاء، بس لما تكبر زيي مش هتعمل اخطاء. ديت يعني لو حد بقى كبر بالفكر ده يعني يعيش ازاي في الزواج؟ مش هيعيش كويس في الزواج، مش كده؟ يعني كل حد بقى دماغه متربسه مش هنعيش. ففي want them to admit their mistake احنا برضه نقول احنا برضه غلطانين لما نعمل حاجه غلط. يعني ساعات العيال بينرفزونا وبعدين يعني واحنا بننرفز يمكن نمد ايد علينا او اقول حاجه مش لفظ مش كويس. المفروض نعتذر على نعمل ده حتى لو هم عندنا حق، بس نعتذر. مش لازم كل مره اضربه او ازعق فيه او اشتمه او اي حاجه. If you want them to be honest, be honest. يعني العيل شايف اللي بيحصل في البيت وبيسمع المكالمه اللي انت بتكلمه على التليفون. فلما انت يعني بتقول حاجه مش الحق على التليفون مع حد تاني اصدقائك والواد سمع كده هيتعلم. على التليفون مفيش حد بشايف فممكن ايه اكذب. فلازم we want to model what we want them to learn. If you want them to live Christian morals, we must live in the same. Number 3 is put fear in its proper place. يعني نحط الخوف في مكان المظبوط. أسألكم سؤال. Should children fear their parents? إيه رأيكم؟ المفروض العيال يخافوا من الأهالي؟ شوية. They have to. يخافوا من العقاب. The consequences. Yeah, okay, so they should fear the consequences and not the parent. طب هنا أسأل, if they fear the consequences, are they being obedient because of the consequence or are they being obedient because of you? الكلام اللي انت بتقوليه. فهل احنا عايزين نعلم عيالنا يخافوا من العقاب ولا يخافوا مننا؟ عشان برضو بص لو احنا خدناها من حته روحيه برضو هو ربنا عايزانا احنا نخاف من الهلاك ولا نخافه هو؟ لا بنخاف من زعله، بنخاف من هو. العقاب is a byproduct. يعني المفروض ايه العقاب is just a byproduct to get them in the right direction. بس في الاخر we want the children to fear us at the end of the day. يعني this is, if I can say, one of the most important things. When if you have little children, the most important thing when they're young is that they fear mama and baba. And whatever the cost may take. But if they fear mama and baba, at the end of the day they will obey them. بكرة يعني هم صغيرين they might fear you عشان خايفين من العقاب أو من زعل. بس as they grow, this should be turned into love. بس طبعا we guide this برضه. Sometimes احنا we get stuck في المود بتاع العقاب حتى لو هم بيكبروا عايز اعاقبه. ده مرة اتنين يعني husband and wife كانوا بيتخانقوا. فالراجل جه قال لي يا ابونا انا قطعت الموبايل بتاع مراتي. قلت ايه يعني ده مش بنتك. مش المفروض تعمل كده. لا هي مش بتسمع كلام، مش بتسمع كلام. this is how you grow. Again, if it's just about العقاب, they'll grow into ايه؟ ممكن اعمل كده حتى مع مراتي. يعني عشان ايه؟ this is العقاب. If so, what are the limits for establishing fear in our children? احنا قلنا ايه؟ We want our children to fear us. What are the limits in establishing this fear? And are there limits? هنا بقى there's many different opinions. فأنا ممكن you can share. Don't be scared of being wrong. يعني there's no wrong or right. There, يعني for example في ناس ممكن ايه they'll say ممكن ازعق في ابني او بنتي. ممكن اودي له بصه. ممكن في ناس بيقولوا ممكن اضرب عيالي if I have to. يعني طبعا using the physical force should be the last resort. It's the fastest, but it's also the most damaging. يعني because it teaches the children يعني when you're angry you hit. If this is the first resort, this is what it teaches them. But if it's the last resort, it teaches them that this is the last resort, right? The words are much better, right? For there are certain limits, and how we establish this fear. But at the end of the day, establishing the fear is very important. But طبعا above all of this is we establish the fear, but زي ما بولس الرسول قال that all that you do be done with love. How do we know when we're establishing fear or discipline لو في محبة ولا لا؟ How do we know if while I'm establishing fear or discipline that it's done in love? Yes, to get the desired result, right? Then what happens after you get the desired result? عشان في ناس ايه they get the desired result الواد بيجي يبكي ويقول انا اسف وبابا وماما بيقولوا لا مش النهارده مش مسامحك انت عملتها مره مرتين ثالث مره بقى لا انا هزعل منك كام يوم بابا انا I'm so sorry I didn't mean it سامحوني لا ومش هتروح الكام ومش هتروح مش عارف ايه. فهنا يعني the purpose of the discipline is to get them to understand the lesson. For the way we know whether in discipline we're establishing fear and love is the ability to forgive. Once they learn the lesson, I can forgive. عشان كده يعني الناس اللي يعني in the child psychology and child rearing, they say when you discipline, you should always be in control. حتى لما انت ايه لو تضربوا يعني or if you have to spank them when they're young طبعا. It should be done in control. If you do it out of anger, you've lost control. Then this becomes wrong. ودي خطية عليك. So it has to be done in love. Because once they apologize and they say and they feel bad for what they did, then we should be able to hug them and kiss them. And if we can't, then maybe I'm not doing this out of love, I'm doing this out of a reaction. Number 4 is don't provoke your children. Do I constantly find fault in them? طبيعتنا كمصريين احنا عايزين اولادنا يبقوا 100% perfect. فحتى ايه لو جاب يعني 99 طب why not 100? انت why did you miss one, right? So we find kid the fault and we always pick the fault. Do I sometimes demand too much from them? Sometimes يعني كل حد has their own ability. زي ايه I can have all of these different bottles, different sizes. Each one has a different capacity of how much to hold. I can't demand this little bottle to hold the same as a liter. مش هتكفي, right? But sometimes we want our little children to grasp what the same is in this 1 liter bottle. And if they don't, we're going to find a way to put 1 liter in this little bottle. ايه اللي هيحصل؟ هيفرقع, right? والعيال هيفرقعوا برضه. They're going to feel so deflated. I can never meet mom and baba's expectation, right? So sometimes we provoke them. The third point is don't be overly permissive. يعني ايه دي بقى اللي ماشي في التيار دلوقتي. Let your children experience everything and let them يعني judge for themselves and make their own decisions. Don't interfere. لو الواد قال انا عايز ابقى بنت وماله، خد جزمة ماما. التيار طبعا احنا مش بنقول كده بس ده التيار. And sometimes maybe we don't go into this extreme. بس we say خليه يجرب يشرب يعني خمرة أو يشرب حاجة شيشة على الأقل قدامي في البيت. هنا this is being too permissive, right? Allowing them يعني to do things حتى يعني be against the law. يعني احنا ممكن نعمل some people they do this with their high schoolers. This is against the law. يعني بس we allow them to do it عشان يجربها هنا. طب لو سعادتك لو الواد ده جربها في البيت قدامك هيعمل ايه بره؟ طبعا we think يعني ايه مش هعملها بره، لو هو جربها في البيت مش هعملها بره. لا، الولاد اللي يعني محترم جوه البيت او يمكن بيشتم اخوه او اخته بيعمل ايه بره؟ بيشتم حاجات افعظ يعني much more worse يعني. and we see this on social media يعني that maybe we think that our children are the angels but then we look and we find online حاجات كارثة يعني. Solomon says, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. A child left to himself will bring shame to his mother and his father. Number 5 is do not shame them. Focus on the behavior, not the person. Sometimes, again, we get in the mood of calling them names. Calling them names is like, we label them. You're always كذا. أنت always do this. أنت على طول بتعمل كده. مش بتعمل كده. أنت على طول متأخر. We begin just to put labels on them. At the end of the day, they are what we say. If we label them as such, they will live this much. Okay, this is what Mama and Baba expect of me. خلاص هعمل كده. For sometimes we shame them. Comparing them with other family members or siblings. Again, like I said, you can't compare something like this to a leader, right? But we want to compare them. We want to compare them because we feel like this guy should not be a leader, but should be a gallon. That's how he's not there. He's still this. Sometimes, we do this unknowingly. لو في age difference between the عيال. We sometimes apply the same rules and standard of thought to the younger siblings as we do to the older. We have somebody who's in middle school or high school, and then we have somebody in elementary school, maybe a smaller child. And we think sometimes when we go from child to child that we should be the same in everything. For we think that the young middle school child should know the same as the high schooler. And when they don't, we get upset and we get nervous. طب ما تتعلم زي أخوك. طب he's still like for a few years younger. أخوه لما هو كان في سنه ما كانش بيعمل كده. For we need to be able to adjust how we address and our expectations of our children based on their age. This is just a slide that compares kind of ideas. What shame may teach children to think about themselves. For when we shame them and call them names, when we shame them, it says what? I can't trust anyone because I feel like I'm shamed. They label me with names. It feels like, okay, if I can't trust my parents because they shame me, then who can I trust? I am bad and I do bad things. Power always wins out. The person who's strongest will always win. But when we try to parent without the shame and the name calling, keeping in mind to guide and instruct, this just to discipline. When we do this without shame, the child believes that he belongs, the problems can be solved. Again, they feel the problems can be solved when there's that love. We're not able to forgive them after the mistake. Then they grow up and feel, okay, I can say I made a mistake and that's not the end of the world. But the insan who feels like I made a mistake and this is the end of the world is because they never feel they're ever forgiven. Well, this is something that will be extended, by the way, لربنا. كم مرة بسمع يعني حد يجي يعترف بنفس الخطيه اللي عملها من 10 سنين. معلش ابونا مش عارف لو ابونا ما سامحني. طب انتوا قلت لها المره اللي فات ربنا مسامحك، بس انا مش قادر اسامح نفسي. طب لو ربنا سامحك مش عايز تسامح نفسك, why can't you forgive yourself? It's because they've learned that I'm unforgivable. ودي برضو يعني it's a problem. These are just some things. So how do we deal with their problems? And I quoted problems هنا because sometimes they're not problems per se. It's just the normal growth, right? Normal training. Yani, for example, when you start a company, you expect in the beginning you're going to have some problems. And this is normal as you grow a business or grow to learn any kind of system. So how do we help them with their problems? Number one is to be involved. In order to help your children with the challenges that they face, you need to be present, not simply around. Being present is different than being around. Being around is أنا ممكن أتكلم مع الواد how are you حبيبي أخبار يومك أخبارها إيه؟ قول بجد إيه اللي حصل؟ فأنا إيه؟ I'm around but I'm not present. I'm present with the phone, right? Being present is there's no other distractions and I'm speaking with them. And I'm looking at them. And as they speak, they see my reaction. It's very important, this facial interaction that we have with one another. For them to see, دلوقتي للأسف, after these things have come out, the apathy on the children's face, no one is expressive anymore. The kids are not very expressive. You tell them good news and you tell them horrible news, it's the same. حد مات مش عارف ايه حد مش عارف ايه goes good. نفس هي. There's no expression because they don't see it, right? So it's very important to have this facial interaction with them to snap them out of the la la land. We need them to be present. Be sensitive to their needs. شوف كده ايه, always be asking, what does my child need? And this is maybe the one كده the one thing بقى ايه بيحير the parents. At least it does with me. When I'm disciplining, محيرني. What does he need now? Does he need أشد شوية or does he need mercy? And there's no parent that goes through life and thinks that they did a good job. Every parent, I'm going to be the first, I'm not there yet, I'm still in it, but every day, did I make the right decisions today or did I not? Was I too hard or was I too soft? This is always the case. But at the end of the day, as long as there is love and whatever you're doing, كده أو كده, as long as there's love, هتمشي, right? Try to be sensitive to their needs. Ask, what do they need today? What is it they need at this time? Do they need the empathy and compassion, or do they need to be taught with sense? Talk with them about their daily activities, their stress, their failures, their success, their questions, friends. You'll be surprised sometimes as your children begin to talk, the things they talk about. أنا فاكر كان وأنا قبل ما كنت كاهن كنت شغال في شركة, والست اللي كانت معايا كانت لذيذة قوي. كانت بتقول ايه, هي كان ابنها كان في هاي سكول. طبعا بتسأل ابنها how was your day? I was good. What did you do? This. كله one word answers. مش عارفة تجيب أي حاجة منه. فبتعمل ايه؟ هو كان بيحب يلعب sports. She would always volunteer to drive the kids to the practice. فهي تعمل ايه؟ تروح تلف على أصحابه كلهم, كان عندهم عربية كبيرة. And then she takes them to their practice anywhere. وهي قاعدة بقى بتسوق ولا بتفتح بقها كلمة. تسمع بس. And she said the stuff, she said I would disappear into the seat. The kids would say things as if I wasn't even there. But she knew exactly what her son and his friends were talking about. حتى لو they said something كده maybe not appropriate, she didn't say a word. She just listened. So it's like I disappeared into the seat and then they would talk. خلاص, she knew what they were talking about. هو مش عايز يقول لها, but she found another way to find out what they're talking about. Number 2 is avoid harsh criticism. Do not embellish failures and shortcomings. Sometimes كده we make the small things huge mistakes. ودي حاجة برضو it's very important. The child getting like a 90 versus an 80, هل دي خطية ولا مش خطية؟ ال 80 ده خطية وال 90 ده مش خطية؟ Is the grade a sin or no? No, it's not a sin, right? بس ساعات بنعملها كأنها خطية. هو مش بس خطية، أكبر خطية. لو مش you don't get this grade up مش هتاكل بكرة. يا ربي. We make this such a big deal. يعني إيه؟ we need to be يعني keep things كده in its perspective. We don't want to penalize a mistake and shortcoming the same as a sin, because they'll make the same mistake. The mistakes that كلنا بنعملها, they'll make it as if إيه ده أكبر خطية. And then the same thing بقى when they do خطية, they might say, oh, it's just a mistake. مش مشكلة, right? So we need to be able to respond differently. الحاجات الخطية have serious conversations, serious consequences. And حاجات where they're not doing the responsibility, there's a different way of handling. But it shouldn't be the same. The same. Remember, we want to build them up. أهم حاجة عايزين نكبر. We always got to keep this in our mind. ساعات we want to say لا عايز أكسرهم النهاردة. لا بس عايزين نكبرهم. كبرهم to get them to learn the lesson and to grow and to be better. Results of overly harsh criticism. So what do we find if we're overly harsh? كل حاجة is harsh, negative. We'll find the child will be feeling unable to succeed. They'll find resentment towards you. كثير من الأولاد اللي بيجوا يقولوا إيه I can't wait to leave home بعد when I go to college, is because they feel some resentment towards their parents, because they feel their parents were overly harsh. فالعيال دول once they hit high school, حبيبي عايز to stay here and you لا طب عايز تروح فين؟ I want to go somewhere in like Washington. مش بس برا هيوستن، عايز برا البلد, so that I can't see them and I have to take like a 2 or 3 hour flight عشان أرجع. فممكن يتلكك. But they want to go as far as possible عشان there's some resentment. بس العيل اللي فعلا حاسس he's protected and secure في البيت, why would they want to leave? I'm uncomfortable, right? And my parents give me the the freedom that's appropriate and the trust and the love and affection. I don't need to go anywhere else. Lastly is they may project this harshness or your harshness on God. وإحنا قلنا الكلام ده قبل كده. If the child doesn't feel like mom and papa forgive them, ربنا مش هيسامحني. Number 3 is avoiding the comparing, which we spoke about again. And look in this cartoon. The guy says, look at Sharma G, son, she got 91.5%. And says the mom says, you only got 91%. إخس عليك. Right? It's like comparing the half percent. Sometimes we get so caught up in comparing. Comparing them communicates that there is something wrong with them because they struggle. And their sibling or friend is better because he doesn't struggle that way. At the end of the day, بص حبايبي كل حد has his own struggle. ممكن واد struggle في المدارس بس مع علاقاته مع his friends ممتازة. الواد أخلاقه حلوة خدوم بحب الناس بس struggling في المدرسة. And you find somebody is acing كل حاجة في المدرسة بس he doesn't know how to deal with anybody. وعلى طول بيتخانق. أو instead because he's so smart بيلعب على الجيمز and he spends his day and night playing games. فكل حد has his own struggle. let's not compare them but address the struggle. Imagine كده لو احنا دخلنا في أوضة الاعتراف مع أبونا بقى قاعد بياخد اعترافات مع كل حد وبقى he applies the same thing. اللي قبله قال أنا عندي خطية كذا 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 وأنت دخلت بقى إيه قبل ما تقول أي حاجة حبيبي أنت بتعمل كده ليه كده ليه؟ وأنا ما قلتش حاجة بس اللي قبلك قالها ولا قبلك sometimes كده we sit in confession and we find like النهارده is the mood of كذا. So everybody جاي this confessing of this thing. Does this mean the next person هتوقع عملها؟ يمكن in our mind we might think this, but we're not going to say anything because it's individual. Our children are individuals. كل حد is different. We need to treat them as such. It will make it more difficult to succeed if they believe something is wrong with them. The fact is, we all struggle with something. Comparing them with others can be discouraging. Value the effort as much as outcome. This is the key, is we need to value the effort. And I think as parents, this is what frustrates us. We know they can do better, and this is what we frustrate. Again, we need to help them. العيال على طول بيجوا and they come and they say أبونا يعني I'm lying. Well, why are you lying? He says, because I don't want to get in trouble. If I tell my parents that I get a bad grade, then they're going to take my phone away. أنا بقول لهم إيه؟ أنا بقول لهم بصوا يعني I tell them, look, if you told the lie, what did your parents do to you? They said nothing because they didn't know I got a bad grade. I said, great. So then what would happen? What would be the result of this? And he's like, well, I wouldn't do well. Exactly. When you don't do well, who does this impact? You or them? He says, me. At the end of the day, the grades are for them, not for mom and baba. Right? It's going to affect their career. I said, if you tell your parents the truth, what would happen? He said, they'll take my phone away. I was like, why do you suppose mom and baba take the phone away? He said, because I wasn't studying like I was supposed to, so it's a punishment. I was like, no, it's not a punishment. It's helping you. They're taking the distraction away from you to allow you to get more time to study. And then when they take the phone from you, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to have to study. I was like, and when you study, what's going to happen to your grades? They'll go up. And who benefits from the grades going up? They say me. This is it. It's like at the end of the day, it's for their healing and for their betterment, even if it's something that's difficult for them. I always tell you, we need to value kid the effort. When the kid puts forth the effort, we value the effort, not the outcome. Number 4 is encourage them. Why do we oftentimes vocalize criticism and are silent in positive qualities? The reason why I say this, most of us, it's very easy to find the criticism. But you'll find out, ممكن most of our children, they have many good qualities. But if I asked you about your general status of your children, you will likely tell me, أبونا هم مش بيصحوا بدري ويروحوا الكنيسة، أبونا هم مش بيذاكروا كل يوم، أبونا مش شباب. You'll tell me only المش, right? You won't tell me what they're doing. And actually, very rarely, but when I find it, when I come to a house and I ask, and the parents are always like, أبونا شد على ودانه عشان هو مش بيعمل كذا. This is not common, unfortunately, that I find the parents that are proud of their kids. And this shows when the parents show that the kids that they're proud of their children, what kind of confidence would this build in the child? When a parent comes to Abuna and says how proud in front of Abuna, how proud I am of my child, what do you think this will do to the child? نفسيته. He's going to be, wow, this is how they really feel about me? It will lift them up, right? Reward positive choices and behavior. Again, we're so much into the discipline, and we forget that we want to reward also the positive behavior. It can just be a word, a tap on the back, a hug. You can take them out somewhere that they like, and whatever it is. But reward the positive things, and this will encourage them to do more positive things. Remind them of their potential. Number 5 is smile. Show your pleasant approval. You don't know how much a smile means to a child. The universal language in the world is a smile. If I got some kid from China who I don't understand a word they're saying, but if I look at them and I smile, they look and smile at me back. When I was first ordained, طبعا لابس كده, I grew up here in America, ولابس كده الجلابية السوداء دي من حاجة من مصر مش من هنا. فطبعا you're walking through the airport, and I was ordained in 2011. أيام بقى ISIS وكل الكلام ده يعني. I'd walk to the airport and they look at me بالكشرة. خصوصا لو مشيت جنب النيوز and they had بغدادي on the screen وانا ماشي جنبهم. Then I got all of the I can't tell you, 9 times out of 10 when I smile at them, their face changes. Their face changes. يعني I was gonna say كان في مرة شفت حد في المطار, I smiled at them. هو كان من a different denomination, يعني different religion. I smiled at them and he كان مكشر. You can guess يعني who it was يعني. But the smile says a lot, right? A smile says a lot. Those who smile are more approachable. If you take any two priests and one of them smiles, which do you think the child will go to? And he knows neither of them. You'll find the child will be more drawn to the one who smiles, right? Because they understand smiling as being playful and inviting. Ta'ala kallimni, right? By smiling and laughing, you can share in their joy and perhaps turn their sorrow to joy or pessimism to optimism. So simply by a smile, you can change their sorrow into joy. They might come home from school with a bad day, and then when you smile at them and reassure them that everything's going to be okay, and you'll help them with the problems they're having at school. And just by that smile, everything's gone. Everything's gone, right? فعلا a smile can go a long way. Do I enjoy being with them? This is maybe sometimes we don't smile. And we look at the children as being a burden. أنا عايز أعمل اللي أنا عايز أعمله وعيالي على طول في ديلي. عايز أصلح العربية، عايز أشتغل في كذا هم في ديلي. Again, when we push them away, again they feel like, okay, this is deflating. But if you always meet them with a smile, this is something that they will learn. You'll find they themselves will be happy people. Number 6 is dialogue. I think this is the last one. Dialogue is the key to understanding your children. The most common complaint that we hear من العيال is they don't understand me. يعني هم في دنيا وإحنا في دنيا تانية. Dialogue promotes closeness. يعني we can feel close with one another. Without dialogue, there's isolation, disconnected, and then they begin to even doubt your love. Children won't usually express this idea of doubting your love until they get older. Actually, the kids usually, by nature, they know mom and papa love them. But if we don't dialogue with them and we don't speak with them, as they get older, especially like in high school and college, they begin to realize, you know what? ما عنديش علاقة مع بابا. بابا على طول في الشغل وبيجي من الشغل بيطلع على النت وين ينام. يقول لي صباح الخير صباح الخير مش عارف ايه. But when they're young, they feel Baba loves them. But as they grow and they realize Baba has no relationship with me, they realize that Baba, maybe he didn't love me, right? Because there wasn't that dialogue. This is just a review. We said the keys to healthy relationship is respect, be a good role model, put fear in its proper place, don't provoke your children, and do not shame them. And dealing with their problems, we said you need to be involved. Don't avoid the harsh criticism. Avoid comparing them with family members and friends. Encourage them, smile, and have a dialogue. في حد عنده أسئلة أو comment? I'm struggling with mine. أنا ما أشوف آخرتها إيه معنا على الأول. ربنا يدينا كلنا كده نعمة and to be faithful in the stewardship that we have with our children. At the end of the day, again, like I said, there's no parent that says, I did a great job raising my children. Always going to be, يا ريتني كنت عملت كذا. We have to understand that. Nobody's going to be perfect. But the key is, I can admit my fault. لما الوالد يقول لي أنت كنت بتزعق فيا كتير أو ما تزعقش فيا كتير يا بابا. أقول له فعلا أنت عندك حق. I shouldn't. Then this goes a long way. Then this maybe can be corrected in the next generation. And his children, مش هيزعق كتير. Because Baba was able to admit that this was wrong.
كنت قلت like we should forgive them quickly so that they learn the idea of forgiveness, and then when they see us forgiving them, then they understand the difference of that this is not punishment, this is more of a discipline. أنا كده بعمل that for you and for, but the idea is sometimes forgiving quickly, and I'm not saying we shouldn't forgive, I'm just asking, is forgiving quickly going to teach them like ما هو كده كده هيسامحني. And the same idea for us لما احنا بنغلط في حاجة, and I mean it's just like a tough point.
I think sometimes one of the ways of discipline زي ربنا ساعات بيعمل معانا, هو ربنا بيحبنا على طول, right? But sometimes we'll find that ربنا he withdraws himself. So sometimes قبل من before if I'm the type of parent who doesn't like to spank and go this far, and the child's not is not responding with words, even with the discipline. هاخد منه التليفون, you're not getting your allowance, and they still don't respond. Then there still has to be a sign of disapproval. And sometimes the sign of disapproval is withdrawing from them. But here there's not quick forgiveness because they didn't learn the lesson. But as soon as they come back and apologize and recognize that, then we reconcile. But sometimes we wait until they learn the lesson. So we withdraw from them a little bit until they learn. And then we can reconcile. Oh yeah. Yes. And this is key. And he always said, if you say a discipline, you keep it, regardless. So, like again, the apology doesn't take away the discipline. The apologies reconcile. إنه حد عمل خطية, يعني whatever, يعني سرق حد من محل, for example, وقبض عليه. لما هو يجي ابونا ويقول معلش يا ابونا انا اخطيت انا سرقت, هل المحكمه تقول خلاص لا مش مشكله؟ لا, لسه يروح المحكمه ويتحاسب, right? The forgiveness doesn't mean that the penalty is removed. ودي برضه حاجه sometimes, يعني sometimes we can forgive them and remove the penalty, but sometimes we shouldn't. So they know the penalty is there, because if they learn that just saying I'm sorry will remove the penalty, then guess what? They're going to say sorry just to remove the penalty. Right? I am say sorry just to remove the penalty. Right? They learned this in SK. They learned this from 3 and 4 years old. Right? Yes, it's a good point. Yes, sir.
لو هم بيعملوا المشكلة كل مرة هم بيليرن الليسن, بس هم برضك بيكرروا نفس المشكلة على طول.
Be patient. عشان احنا بنعمل كده برضه, مش كده؟ احنا بنعمل كده مع ربنا, بنعيد. So be patient with them. As they grow and mature, they will get it. Just be patient, keep teaching. You don't say okay هو سمع نفس الكلام, لا عيد الكلام وثاني وثالث ورابع.
هل لما يجي يتأسف او يجي يقول سوري, انا اقول له انت كل مرة بتقول كده ما بتعملش, او بتعمل بتساوي بتخلي؟
شجعه, tell him what to do. Don't tell him what he's not doing, tell him what to do. يعني يا حبيبي, يعني last time انت قلت كده بس ايه, it didn't work. فايه رأيك نعمل كذا؟ Forgive him, again, guide him. Don't point to him what he's not doing. He already knows that. He needs help doing something different. انت قلت كده المرة اللي فات لما طلعت مع بره مع الشباب دول عملت كذا. طب ايه رأيك نغير اللمة اللي انت, يعني الشلة اللي انت معاها. Right? Why don't you تصاحب على الفلان ده? Forgive him other option. عشان يقدر يطلع من This is actually يعني something مش بس in يعني it works in this philosophy, but also they've learned يعني for any addiction, if there's no better alternative, you always choose the sin. And they did studies before on rats who were addicted to cocaine. And they put them, typically they do the study, they put them in the cage, and the cocaine is here and the water is here. They're going to go to the cocaine every time. But then one guy, he says, let me try something different. And he made something called like a rat park. But they made the rats addicted to cocaine for like 50-something days. And then he put the rat in this big cage that had like a wheel, had other rats in there, they were playing, it had trees and a big kid park for them. And then he put the cocaine over here. And he found the rat, and he went to the cocaine a couple of times, but within a few days, it never went back. Why? Because there was a better alternative. There are people around the rat, right? There are toys to play with. There's a nice environment. So sometimes we need to provide a better alternative to get them to do something better. شكرين على وقتكم, أخرت عليكم, آسف.
Okay, in a couple of days كده, يعني first we'd like to thank Abuna James. In a couple of days there's something very special coming up. I'm not talking about Halloween. We don't celebrate that. It's actually يعني October 30th is going to be Abuna's 11th year anniversary, the priesthood. يعني this is something very small يعني يا ابونا. يعني ربنا يديم كهنوتك يا ابونا ويخليك لينا.
بتفضلوا نصلي. في اي تنبيه؟
معلش هاخد من وقتكم 5 دقايق كده وركزوا معايا فيها شويه. كان الناس سالتنا عن الثانكس جيفن. يس مينا جود جوب. اوكي. كم تنبيه كده صغير. بنعمه ربنا زي ما احنا كنا متفقين كل سنه بنحتفل مع بعض الثانكس جيفن مع اباء كنيستنا، وبناخد يوم بره كده بنطلع مع بعض فيه. اليوم ده هيبقى نوفمبر 20 سانداي، نوفمبر 20 هيبقى الحد اللي قبل الثانكس جيفن. اوكي تمام. خلوني اخلص وبعد كده اللي عايز يرفع ايده يرفع. اليوم ده هيبقى يوم حد، هنبتديه هنبتديه في القاعه اللي هي اسمها هوم تاون اللي في ليك سيتي اللي بنقضي فيها كل سنه يعني. برضه هيبقى زي السنه اللي فاتت. يعني البيرنتس كده هيبقوا في مكان وهناخد الاطفال في مكان. الاطفال هناخد تكرب الاطفال من يعني من اول سن اليمنتري وكده، يعني اطفال مثلا يعني 4 سنين يعني. اطفال الصغيرين مثلا يعني احنا مش هنقدر نعمل حاجه معاهم يعني، فهيبقوا مع البيرنتس. عشان بس ما انت قلتوا ان احنا هنهتم.
هو العدد محجوز من 4، بس هي الفكره ان كام من سن كام بالظبط هيتاخد، ده اللي شغالين عليه دلوقتي.
اوكي. اشتراك اليوم هيبقى اللي هو من اول السن البيبي لحد 3 سنين ده فور فري. اي خدمه اي خدمه تمام. اوبشن اهو اوبشن. الادلتس هيبقى ب $20، ومن سن 4 سنين لحد سن 12 سنه هيبقى ب $10. بعد انا مارفي 13 فانا خلاص. نو تشويس نو تشويس. انت ماركو نو تشويس. فهيبقى من سن 4 سنين لحد سن 12 ده هيبقى ب $10. بعد سن 12 ادلتس. اوكي. اليوم هيبتدي هناك، هنتجمع على الساعه 12:30. قبل ما نبتدي نتجمع الاطفال يروحوا في مكان. على مدار الاسابيع اللي جايه هنقول لكم ايه اللي هيحصل، الاطفال هيعملوا ايه، مين المسؤول عن خدمه الاطفال. هيكون المسؤول عن خدمه الاطفال بيكو وكريستين، هيقولوا لكم بالظبط هيكسبلين ايه اللي هيعملوه مع الاطفال. حاجزين 3 ملاعب بره وهنقول لكم ايه اللي هيعمل. الاطفال الكبار الادلتس هنلعب ايه مع بعض. اليوم ليه هدف. مين اللي مسؤول عن التصوير في اليوم. اليوم هيبتدي يعني هنتجمع على الساعه 12:30. بنعمه ربنا هنبتدي يومنا الساعه 1. هنبتدي من 1 لحد الساعه 3 او 3:15 كده. نلعب مع بعض. هنتقسم مجموعات زي السنه اللي فاتت ونبتدي نلعب مع بعض. من اول 3:15 او من اول 3 هيبقى في كلمه صغيره لابونا، وبعد كده هنبتدي ناكل كلنا مع بعض يعني اكله محبه كده. عاملين اكل حلو ما تقلقوش.
وفي ديك رومي.
في ديك.
ده معاك في الموضوع.
في ديك واحد ولا؟
لا في ديوك.
في ديوك رومي يعني. وبعد كده هيبقى هنبتدي لما نخلص هنبقى عاملين زي جزء للتصوير كده، فوتو سيشن. لو انتوا عايزين تتصوروا العيله مع بعض او اصحاب مع بعض برضو تتصوروا. الفوتو سيشن دوت مش هيبقى كل اليوم، هيبقى وقت معين، وبعد كده محدش يمشي لان بناخد صوره جماعيه كلنا مع بعض. خليني اقول لكم كم ملاحظه كده بس صغيره. احنا عاملين الادلت ب 20، والكيدز من اول 4 سنين لحد 12 ب $10، وبعد كده ادلت. ده مش اجباري، اللي هقوله ده مش اجباري، بس لو حد عايز يجيب حاجه اكسترا، يعني لو حد عايز يساعد مثلا الخدمه في ميه بيبس مش عارف ايه، لو سمحت يا جماعه يعني ما يجيبش من دماغه، يرجع لمعلش. ارفع ايدك. حد يا جماعه مش عارف مريان اللي مسؤوله عن خدمه الاغابي او الاكل في اليوم دوت. فمعلش طبعا كلكم معاكم نمرها، لو ما حدش معاه نمرها ياخد نمرتها ويتواصل معاها. مريان انا هجيب ميه مثلا، لا يعني مرسى ما تجيبيش ميه، هات لنا حاجه للاطفال، حاجه ساقعه للاطفال. لا احنا كده اكتفينا عشان بس الموضوع نعمل كنترول. هستأذنكم لو حد حابب هيجيب حاجه يبلغ مريان قبل يوم 13 يا جماعه. قبل يوم 13 اللي هو الحد اللي قبليه، لان هي هتبقى بتنزل بتعد بتجيب الاكل وبتجيب كل حاجه، فما نجيبش. بالنسبه للحجز اللي امتى اليوم هيبتدي نفتح الحجز؟ يوم الحد الساعه 5. الحد ده الساعه 5. بليز تكس مسج لكل اصحابكم لكل الناس. ابونا هينبه في القداس. عمرنا ما كان حد معانا او احنا هنعمل حجز هيبقى في ويتنج ليست. بنعمه المسيح حتى لو في ويتنج ليست بنعمه المسيح هنحاول ناخد كل الناس معانا بنعمه ربنا يعني، بس نبقى عارفين الاعداد ونقيمها ونشوف هنعمل ايه، لان احنا ملتزمين برضو بعدد في المكان دوت يعني. فلو العدد كبر او الاعداد زادت نحاول نتصرف ونحاول نبلغكم بدري.
سوري انا اسف، انا عاوز اوريهم الويب سايت بس.
مين هيعلق على الويب سايت؟ ليا طلب بس حاجه، من يوم 13 يعني الاسبوع اللي قبل يعني هنقفل الريجستريشن. بعد كده يا جماعه ما فيش ريفند للفلوس.
هو ريفند عامه ريكواير ريبليسمنت
يعني
اي فلوس بتخش تبقى
يعني لان بعد يوم 13 الفلوس هتكون طارت خلاص راحت، فيعني مش هيبقى في يعني الريفند مش هيبقى موجود، فدي نقطه. الموضوع المادي مش هاممنا قوي، بس ليا معلش ملاحظه، دي كانت حاجه من خبرات السنه اللي فاتت مع كلنا الخدام يعني. اللي مش هيقدر يجي يا جماعه وعارف ان هو مش هيقدر يجي بدري لو سمحت يبلغنا. تمام؟ هو مين اللي هيكون زي ما مريم مسؤوله عن الاكل في اليوم ده، مين اللي مسؤول عن الريجستريشن؟ اي حاجه في الحجوزات لو ما تبلغش ماجد وقول له بلغ مينا. معاكم نمره تليفون مينا، لو ما ردش عليكم بليز تكس هيم مسج، بعد ما يخلص شغله هيرجع لكم اكيد فور شور. كل واحد فينا ماسك حاجه في اليوم او في الخدمه. تمام؟
ربنا يسامحك.
ليه بقول كده؟ معلش حصل بس كذا حاجه دي من خبرات السنه اللي فاتت. الناس مثلا مش هتيجي معانا اليوم، واحنا كان معانا اسرتين ويتنج ليست، واحنا رايحين يوم الاحد. امتى اتصل بمينا او ببيكو او بكريستين؟ امتى؟ يوم السبت الساعه 11:30 بالليل. فانا المفروض الساعه 11:30 بالليل مثلا اكلم رأفت اقول له بص يا رأفت انت كنت في الويتنج ليست، تعالى معانا بكره. يعني نو واي يعني، اكيد هو راح حاجه ارتبط بحاجه، ما كانش رايح شغله فراح الشغل بتاعه يعني. فاللي في باله ان هو مش هيقدر يجي معانا اليوم دوت او عنده ظروف او اي حاجه، لو سمحت يعني بليز يبلغنا من بدري، بحيث ان في اسره تاني نقدر ناخدها وتقدر تنجوي معانا. بنعمه ربنا هنحاول بقدر الامكان كل اللي يحجز معانا باذن المسيح نكون موجودين. الخدمه دي اتاسست يعني كان ابونا هو اللي علمها لنا، ابونا اثناسيوس، ودلوقتي يعني بركه ابونا اثناسيوس وابونا توبيا بنكمل الخدمه ديت. فكده قلنا على التنبيه، قلنا على الريجستريشن، مين هيعلق على موضوع الريجستريشن، قلنا على موضوع الاكل، قلنا على خدمه الاطفال. كل اسبوع من دلوقتي قبل ما نروح اليوم دوت هنقول لكم هنعمل ايه، يعني كل حاجه كل اسبوع هننبه عن حاجه معينه في اليوم دوت، وباذن المسيح يطلع يوم كويس زي ما بيطلع كل مره.
الحجز الموضوع سهل جدا طبعا، هنحطه على فيسبوك، بس يعني اي ريفرنس في الاجتماع على الويب سايت بتاع الاجتماع اللي هو جزء من ويب سايت الكنيسه. كلنا عارفين الشكل ده صح؟ خشوا عليه عشان دراسه الكتاب. اول حاجه في الويب سايت هتكون موجوده الصفحه دي كده اهو، هتدوس على الريجستريشن هيدخلك على صفحه الريجستريشن. هو حاليا لو دخلت على الويب سايت هيقول لك ان هو هيتفتح بعد يوم، زي ما ماجد قال يوم الاحد الساعه 5. يعني جدد مع بعض كده بسرعه، حطوا ريمايندر عشان ما تنسوش، هو بيسالك عليه. فعشان ما تنسوش الساعه 5 هيتفتح اوتوماتيك، فخشوا بسرعه عشان تلحقوا الاماكن. برضه لو حد عنده اي حاجه يقول لي يعني، ف انا في انتظاركم. حد عنده اي سؤال يخص الريجستريشن او يخص اليوم؟ هو جوه لما تختار الادميشن بتاع الاطفال هيجيب لك اسمهم وسنهم وولاد ولا بنات، عشان لما نيجي احنا نفرز في الكيدز اكتيفيتي نعرف الولاد هيعملوا ايه، البنات هيعملوا ايه، السن ده ينفع يعمل كذا، السن ده ينفع يعمل كذا، عشان نعرف نقسم العيال، عشان كل واحد ما يبقاش فيه حاطط حد مثلا 4 سنين مع حد عنده 10 سنين، فمش هيبقى متوافق خالص، فعشان تبقى الدنيا منظمه بس. فجاوبوا على الاسئله الموجوده، وميك شور ان الايميل اللي هتشتري بيه التيكت ده ايميل بتبص عليه، عشان اي اناونسمنت هتيجي من السيستم هتجيلك عليه، فانت يعني اوير معانا. ده اسهل حاجه نوصل بيها للناس اللي حجزت يعني.
الفتره ديت. لو حد تعبان يا شطار هيعمل ايه؟ ها؟ ثانك يو سو ماتش، ثانك يو. لو حد تعبان يعني خليك مكانك، اثبت مكانك بليز من فضلك. يعني ما تغامرش بالمجموعه. لو ابنك حاسس انه تعبان، لا 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 لا، ده اصله معلش ده شرب ميه ساقعه فكح، يعني خليه في البيت، خليه في البيت. اوكي. الكريسماس الخدام برضو زي ما شغالين في الثانكس جيفن شغالين في الكريسماس. ليله العيد بنقضيها مع بعض، او العيد بره بنقضيها مع بعض. ايام جايه كتير، يعني مش اخر مره ولا اول مره ولا، يعني مستمرين فتره هوليديز واحنا بنفكر في كذا حاجه. ماشي. صلوا من اجل الخدمه والخدام، ويعني ميرسي لتعب.
نصلي مع بعض. ارحمنا 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 يا الله مخلصنا ارحمنا 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 يا الله مخلصنا ارحمنا 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 يا الله مخلص. نشكرك يا رب على كل التعليم اللي انت قدمته، ونرجو ان يكون فعال في بيوتنا واولادنا، وتذكر ولادنا وبناتنا الشباب والاطفال والكبار، وتبارك الكنيسه بحضورك وبوجودك ببركه من العذراء مريم بركه رئيس الملائكه رافائيل، واجعلنا مستحقين نقول بالشكر يا ابانا الذي في السماوات. والآن محبة الله الآب نعمة الابن الوحيد شركة موهبة وعطية الروح القدس تكون مع جميعكم. من أراد أن يمضي بسلام سلام الرب يكون مع جميعكم. يا ريت ناخد ولادنا وننصرف بسلام، ما فيش وقوف بره عشان مطره، ما فيش الملعب مطفي، ما فيش حد يروح الملعب. الدنيا مطينه فما حدش يعرف، فامضوا بسلام.